If I hadn't maintained radio silence back then, the jet overhead would have turned our entire team into fragments within 30 seconds. And worse strike, we called it in ourselves. I could hear my own heartbeat, not the slow, cinematic thump you hear in movies. This was real, out of control, pounding so hard, it felt like it was exploding inside my ears. Every contraction hit like someone was punching my chest from the inside. 2:17 a.m. I was lying behind a half-collapsed concrete wall. My face was covered in dust. My lips were cracked. My eyes burned from staring through night vision for too long. My finger hovered over the radio button. My nail dug into my skin. I hadn't pressed it yet. Walker, confirm the coordinates. Luis Ortega's voice came through the comms, low and steady. He was our comms specialist, the one responsible for linking us to air support. He was in another building, 2 blocks away. Good signal, but no idea where we actually were. He knew the coordinates, or thought he did. Those numbers, ones I'd just seen on the tactical tablet, weren't the target. They were our position. 30 seconds, brother, Ortega said again. I need your confirmation. I didn't answer, not because I didn't want to, because I was afraid to. There were 2 people on the roof. Daniel Brooks, our sniper, had spotted them from the water tower overlooking our exo route. He'd reported it 2 minutes earlier. Thermal signatures on the roof. 2. Stationary. Looks like they're watching something. Watching what? Waiting for what? I turned to my right. Marcus Reed was crouched behind a rusted forklift. His night vision was flipped up, exposing those eyes that felt heavy even in the dark. He was looking at me. He was hesitating. It was the first time I'd ever seen Reed hesitate. 8 years as a team leader, 4 deployments, 2 serious injuries, a Bronze Star. He never hesitated in a firefight. His decisions were clean like a blade. But now, his lips were pressed into a thin line. He raised a hand. 3 fingers. 3 seconds. He was giving me 3 seconds to decide. In the first second, I thought about death. Not in the abstract, people die kind of way. I saw it vivid, specific, like it had already happened. Shrapnel punching through steel. He'd ripping flesh off bone. I wouldn't even have time to say anyone's name. Second he thought about the mission. High-value target, inside an abandoned factory. Intel said 1 person. No heavy weapons. No reinforcements. A clean job. They called it. First second, I pressed the button. Let me start from the beginning. This happened 12 days ago. But to me, it might as well have happened 40 seconds ago. Every time I close my eyes, I'm back there behind that low wall. Fingers shaking, dust in my mouth. 2:17 a.m. Some nameless industrial zone in the Middle East. On the map, it was labeled Sector East Minus 17. 3 years ago, it made auto parts. Now it was just rusted frames, shattered glass, and windblown sand. We were told the target was Hassan al-Farahi. Intel had tracked him for 6 months. Logistics for some organization moving weapons. Handling money. They said he was hiding in a building deep inside the factory complex. Alone, no bodyguards, no weapons cache. He's the confident, the intel officers with glasses said during the briefing. He thinks we can't find him. I thought that was stupid. In that part of the world, nobody lives past 40 by being too confident. Especially not in that line of work. You survive by doubting everything, trusting no one, staying nowhere longer than 4 hours. But the intel officers kept talking. Satellite imagery shows no vehicle movement in the past 72 hours. Thermal imaging shows a single human signature. This is a window of opportunity. You go in, confirm, eliminate, extract. 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Clean job. No heavy weapons. No reinforcements. I was sitting in the 3rd row of the briefing room. Ortega to my left, spinning a pen. Brooks to my right, cleaning his scope. Reed stood up front, arms crossed, expression blank. Nobody asked questions. This was our 5th mission. The first 4 had gone smooth. In and out, fast, precise as a scalpel. We made a mistake. We started thinking it was easy. When the helicopter door opened, sand and wind hit my visor with a fine rattling sound. I jumped down the ramp, boots sinking into soft sand with a dull thud. Reed hit the ground first, gave the signal, spread out. We moved into a wedge formation. Brooks was the fastest, with his MK-13 slung over his back. He headed southeast toward an abandoned water tower, his chosen sniper position. His footsteps were light, almost silent. Ortega stayed about 200 meters behind us. Inside a 3-story building, he carried the comms gear and encrypted tablet, linking us to command and air support. He gave me a thumbs up, then disappeared into the doorway. I followed Reed. My rifle was shouldered, muzzle down, but my eyes kept scanning. Left, right, Every window, every doorway, every pile of debris that didn't quite look like debris. It was too quiet. Not the quiet of late night. The kind of quiet that feels controlled. No stray dogs. No insects. Even the wind scraping against sheet metal felt intentional. I whispered, "Something's off." Reed didn't turn. Just signal lead keep moving. We advanced along an abandoned loading corridor. On the map it was labeled North Access The only route not directly lit by streetlights. Also the only route where, if we got ambushed, we'd have no way out. I shoved the thought down. Don't overthink. Execute. Rusty barrels and rotting wooden planks lying both sides. The air carried a faint chemical residue like evaporated solvent. My throat started to dry out. After about 5 minutes, Rita stopped. Feast, appalled. I dropped to a crouch. Rifle up. Aiming forward. Reed glanced at his GPS. Then up at the building ahead. He signaled. Target structure. 120 meters. I could see it now. A 3-story concrete building. Outer walls peeling. Gray bricks exposed. Windows sealed shut with welded steel plates. One door in the front but half blocked by a collapsed overhang. Reed assigned positions with hand signals. He'd take the front entrance. I move along the side loading ramp. Brooks on overwatch. Ortega on comms. I nodded. Started moving. The side loading ramp was a gradual incline. Maybe 15 degrees. Wide enough for a forklift. The walls were covered in faded slogans I couldn't read. Tire marks on the ground. Half buried in sand. I reached the top. A steel door. Half open. The hinges were rusted stiff. It wouldn't move at first. I leaned into it with my shoulder. It let out a sharp, screeching creak as it shifted inward a few inches. That sound in that dead silence, it might as well have been a gunshot. I stopped, held my breath, listened. No response. I turned sideways and slipped inside. It was a loading bay, about 8 meters high. Steel beams overhead. A few skylight panels were shattered, and moonlight leaked through the gaps, casting pale, ghostly patches on the floor. The floor was concrete, cracked, dry weeds growing through the seams. I moved along the wall, rifle up, red dots sweeping every possible corner. At the far end of the loading bay was a corridor. Left or right? I crouched and pulled the mini tablet from my vest. The building layout showed. Left led to a storage area, right to a stairwell. Target was on the 3rd floor. I went right. The hallway was narrow, barely wide enough for 2 people side by side. Metal racks were bolted to the walls. All empty. Broken glass covered the floor. I tried to step where there wasn't any, but every move still made a faint crunch. I started counting in my head. Steps. 10, 15. Stairwell. The door was open. I leaned in for a quick look. Stairs were concrete. No railing, with a square shaft in the middle where you could see the edges of the floors above. Then I heard something from above. Faint, like footsteps. Or maybe just the building shifting with temperature. I pressed my mic and whispered, "Brooks, report." 3 seconds later, his voice came through, calm as if he were reading a weather report. Thermal signatures on the roof. 2. Stationary. Looks like they're observing something. My heartbeat skipped. Confirmed 2. Confirmed. Human heat signatures. Moderate intensity. Not animals. 2. Intel said 1. Reed's voice cut in. Low and steady. Position. Roof. Southeast corner. Near the ventilation ducts. Can they see us? Unclear. If they have night vision, they could track your movement. But based on thermal, they haven't moved. Could be listening, or waiting. Waiting. That word tightened my stomach. Waiting for what? Reed was silent for about 5 seconds. Then, continue the advance. Stay sharp. If their position changes, report immediately. I took a slow breath. Move. I started up the stairs. Every step deliberate. Toe first, then the ball, then the heel. No sound. 2nd floor. The stairwell door was closed. I pressed my ear against it. Nothing. I eased the handle down, cracked it open. Hallway. Same layout as the 1st floor. But there was something different. Bullet holes in the walls. Not old. I caught the metallic edges reflecting light. Not fully rusted over. There'd been a firefight here recently. Weeks, maybe. I relayed that to Reed. No response. I kept moving up. 3rd floor. The stairwell door was slightly ajar. A faint glow leaked through the moonlight. Artificial. Warm. Flashlight. Maybe a candle. I crouched and looked through the gap. At the end of the hallway. A door. Light spilling from the crack. Every other room dark. Targets in there. I keep the mic. Barely audible. 3rd floor. End of hall. Light source. 1 possible heat signature. Reed replied, "I'm on 2nd floor. Clearing. Hold position. Wait for me." I waited. 30 seconds. 1 minute. 90 seconds. Reed didn't come up. Reed, I whispered. No answer. Reed, report. Silence. I started sweating. Then I heard footsteps, not from Reed's direction. From below, in the stairwell behind me, someone was coming up. Not Reed. I knew his steps, long stride, steady rhythm, slight drag on the landing. A habit he didn't even realize he had. This was different, faster, lighter, hesitant, like whoever it was kept pausing. I turned, rifle aimed at the stairwell. The footsteps stopped. Silence, then metal scraping, like a bolt being pulled back. My finger moved to the edge of the trigger guard. Not inside. Not yet. Brooks, what are the two on the roof doing? No movement. Still southeast corner. Confirmed they haven't come down. Confirmed. Then who the hell was in the stairwell? A third heat signature. Or the footsteps started again. Faster now. Coming straight up. I made a decision. 3 steps back. Pressed myself against the wall beside a closed door. Rifle up. Trained on the stairwell entrance. If he came through, I'd see him before he saw me. The steps reached the turn between 2nd and 3rd floor. A shadow stretched across the wall. Human, armed, boots hit the last step. The door pushed open. I saw Reed. Night vision flipped up. Rifle slung across his chest. Flashlight in his right hand. Oh, he saw my muzzle pointed at his chest. Didn't flinch. Just frowned slightly. It's me. I lowered the rifle. My heart slammed against my ribs. Where'd you come from? Another stairwell on the east side of the 2nd floor. Took that route. Why didn't you answer comms? Clearing rooms. Didn't hear it. What's wrong? I took a breath. I thought, don't think. He cut me off. Not harsh. Kind of calm that gets under your skin. Execute. Where's the target? I pointed to the end of the hall. Reed nodded. Gave a signal on cover. Him advancing. We moved. Reed in front. Rifle up. Red dot gliding along the walls. I stayed about 3 meters behind, covering the sides in case someone burst out of a room. The hallway wasn't long, maybe 20 meters, but every step felt like the floor could collapse under us. First door, closed. Second door, closed. Third door, half open. Reed stopped. Signal that clears this one. I keep moving. I pass him, heading toward the end of the hall. That door, the one with the light. I pressed myself against the wall beside the door and took a closer look. Wood, old, scratched. The light leaking through the crack was steady at a candle. A flashlight, probably propped up against something. I leaned in and listened. There was a sound inside. Breathing. One person. Heavy. Low. Like someone asleep. I glanced back at Reed. He had already cleared the half-open room and gave me a hand. Signal clear. I signaled. Breach. He nodded. He moved to the other side of the door, flattening himself against the wall. We locked eyes. 3, 2, 1. I kicked the door in. It slammed against the wall with a loud crack. Reed went in first. I followed right behind him. The room was about 15 square meters. A table, a chair, a sleeping bag. On the table, a tactical flashlight stood upright, beam pointed at the ceiling. No target, just the shape of a person in the sleeping bag. Empty. Search, Reed said, his voice hard. I started going through everything. The desk drawers had documents Arabic. Couldn't read them. Reed stuffed them into his bag. I checked the sleeping bag, still warm. He'd been here less than 10 minutes ago. He ran, I said. Reed didn't answer. He stood by the window, nudging aside a blanket with the barrel of his rifle, looking out. For floor, no exit routes. Then where is he? Reed turned. His eyes caught the faint light, reflecting like something nocturnal. In this building? My earpiece crackled. Brooks. His voice had changed height. Urgent. The two on the roof are moving. Direction, north side, toward you. They coming down. Not sure. Signals are shifting along the edge. They might. He cut off. Not static. He stopped. Brooks, I've got a third heat signature. Where? Same floor as you. East side. About 15 meters out. My blood went cold. 3. Intel said 1. Plus the 2 on the roof, 3 total. No, wait. Brooks said, his tone shifting. There's more. West side 2. 4 no. 5. He was watching thermal. We couldn't see them, but he could. From above. He saw everything. Reed, Brooks said quietly, like he was telling a secret. You're surrounded. At least 6. All armed. All moving towards your position. Reed's expression didn't change. He just flipped his rifle to semi-auto. This isn't an error, he said. His voice was calm. This is an ambush. In that moment, I thought we were dead. 6 men. No heavy weapons. But 6 rifles at close range. That's more than enough to turn us into shredded meat. But then Brooks said something that eased the pressure just a little. They're moving slow. Very slow. Like they don't know exactly where you are. Not sure. They were searching and striking. That meant they didn't have night vision. Or if they did, it wasn't working well. In a pitch-black building like this, they had to rely on sound. Touch. We still had the edge. Reed must have come to the same conclusion. He looked at me and signaled silent takedown. No shots, no exposure, knife, hands, anything that didn't make noise. He pointed his heat signature 15 meters away then at himself. He'd take it, then west multiple heat sources and at me. I cover and observe. I nodded. Reed slipped out the door without a sound. His movement was fluid, like liquid, melting into the darkness of the hallway. I leaned against the doorframe, rifle aimed down the west corridor. Waiting. 10 seconds. 20. 30. Nothing. Then over comes a faint crack. Subtle, like bone breaking under a muffled grip. Brooks' east side heat signature is gone. Reed got one. My heartbeat slowed. Just a fraction. One down. At least 5 to go. Reed was already moving again. I couldn't see him from my angle, but I could feel a theme slipping through the dark like a snake through sand. About 40 seconds passed. Brooks again. One on the west side stopped moving. Mid-hall. Looks like he's listening. Listening for what? For us. Or then I heard it. From below. Footsteps. More than one. Heavy. Fast. Someone was coming up from the first floor. Brooks shouted over comms. New heat signatures downstairs. Hurry. Coming up the stairwell. I spin immediately. Rifle aimed at the stairwell door. Hurry. Add that to the 4. Upstairs though. Still 4. Reed took one. 7 total. 7. Intel said 1. I cursed under my breath. But just as everything felt like it was about to spiral out of control, the footsteps stopped. The ones below frowncy. The ones above stopped too. The entire building went still like someone hit pause on reality. Brooks, they're waiting. For what? Not sure. Could be listening for you. Could be waiting on orders. Reed's voice came in, low and steady. They're waiting for us to make a mistake. I took a slow breath. Don't make a mistake. Don't fire. Don't expose. Don't. Ortega. We called. Status on air support. Ortega answered quickly, his voice carrying the metallic radio edge of -16 overhead. 10 minutes to strike capability. Need target confirmation. Negative for now. Stand by. Copy. Reed continued. Everyone hold silence. We clear floor by floor. Moving down. Start from the west side. Walker, you stay on 3rd floor. Watch the stairwell. If anyone comes up, knife. Copy. I started waiting. 1 minute. 2. Hurry. The people below didn't move. The ones upstairs didn't move either. The air got heavy, sweat ran down my forehead, dripping along the edge of my goggles. My fingers, still outside the trigger guard, started to go numb. I started thinking maybe they left. Maybe they were just guards, not fighters. Maybe Brooks. Report heat signatures. 3 below, still stationary. 4 upstairs. Wait. What? The 4 upstairs are moving toward the west side. Below, like they're tracing along the wall. West side. Reed was on the west side. My grip tightened. Reed, they're heading your way. 4 of them. No answer. 3 seconds. 5. 7. Then I heard it. From the west. A dull impact like a feast hitting flesh. Then metal clashing. Then a gunshot. Inside a confined building. It sounded like a bomb going off. My ears started ringing instantly. Brooks shouted over comms. Contact. West side. Gunfire. Reed's voice finally came through. Breathing hard. To down. To pull back. I'm good. But the shot had already alerted the men downstairs. Footsteps thundered up the stairwell. Fast. Heavy. They were coming up. I dropped into a crouch. Rifle up. Aimed at the stairwell door. A shadow appeared in the crack. I didn't fire. Not hesitation. Reed had say don't expose. A shot would give away our position. Bring more. Escalate everything. The figure pushed the door open. I saw him. A young man, no older than 25. Civilian clothes. AK in his hands. Muzzle down. He hadn't seen me. He was looking down the hallway toward Reed. My left hand came off the handguard, reaching for the knife at my waist. 3 meters. 2. He turned. Saw me. His eyes went wide. Mouth opened. His fingers started to tighten on the trigger. I moved. Not throwing the knife. Closing the distance. 1 step. 2. 3. I drove my full weight into the handle. The blade punching up under his jaw. His body went rigid for a second then slack. I caught him. Lowered him gently to the floor. No sound, but the gunshot had already happened. Reed's shot. My blade. And out there were still 2 more below. They heard everything. Brooks, to his signatures downstairs moving. 1 east, 1 west. They're splitting. Reed's voice. Ortega. We need air support. Prep strike coordinates. Ortega. Copy. Send coordinates. Reed rattled off a string of numbers. I thought it was the target. I was wrong. After Reed gave the coordinates, we started pulling back. It took point. I followed, about 5 meters behind, keeping spacing for neutral cover. Hallway, stairwell, second floor. There was blood on the stairwell wall. Fresh. Reed's hand was cut triple from the fight on the west side, but he didn't mention it. We paused briefly on the second floor. Reed leaned against the wall, checking his mag. He dropped the half-empty one, swapped in a full. Efficient. But I saw something in his eyes, not fear. Calculation. He was counting. How many did we drop? I asked. 4. 2 still downstairs. 2 on the roof. 4 total remaining. That didn't feel right. Brooks said 2 on the roof. Then 3 came up from below. Then 4 upstairs. I was losing track. The 2 on the roof still there. I asked. Brooks. Still there. No movement. Why aren't they coming down? No idea. Might be waiting. Reed signaling you're at the roof. Clear below first. We kept moving. First floor. The stairwell door was open. Beneath loading bay, moonlight filtered through broken skylights, casting a grid of pale light across the ground. Reed peeked. Clear. We stepped out into the open space. Empty. Quiet. Just when slipping through gaps in the metal doors, making a low, hollow sound. Reed moved behind a low wall and crouched. I joined him. He spoke quietly. We wait here. Ortega's confirming strike coordinates. Once the F-16 is in position, we pull out. Let the jet level this place. The target didn't find him. He's not in this building. Reed's voice was calm, but there was something under it now. This was a setup. From the start, I stayed quiet for a couple seconds. What about exfil? Same route in. Brooks covers. I nodded. Then the comms crackled. Ortega. Reed. Coordinates confirmed. Preparing strike. Reed. Copy. Ida. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Enough. We could clear the building in 30 seconds. I started to stand. Then Ortega said the second sentence. Strike coordinates confirmed sector east minute 17. North loading corridor. Grid. I don't remember the numbers, but I'll never forget them. Confirmed strike. I frowned. See, that coordinate, it wasn't the target building. It was. I looked down at my tactical tablet. On the screen, our position was a blue dot. The strike coordinates overlapped it exactly. My hand started shaking. Ortega. My voice tightened. Confirmed those coordinates. Confirmed. Provided by Reed. I looked at Reed. He was looking at his own tablet, and his expression, that was the first time I ever saw Marcus Reed crack. His lips parted slightly. His eyes flicked between the screen and the real world. Over and over. Checking. Rechecking. Hoping he made a mistake. He hadn't. Ortega. Reed said, and his voice had changed low. The low, like a man standing at the edge of a cliff. Those coordinates are wrong. What? I said they're wrong. That's our position, not the target. Silence. 3 seconds. On a battlefield, 3 seconds of silence means death. Reed. Ortega's voice started to shake. I confirmed it 3 times. That's exactly what you gave me. It's already uploaded to the link. Abort. I abort the strike. I can't. It's locked in. The F-16 is on its attack run. To abort, I need higher authorization than get it. 30 seconds. Reed. I don't have 30 seconds. Reed ripped off his earpiece and threw it to the ground. He looked at me. I looked at him. 30 seconds. He said. There was no fear in his voice, only something I had never heard from him before. Exhaustion. I frowned. See, not the kind of freeze you see in movies where the hero blanks out for a beat, gets snapped back, and jumps into action. Not that. This was real, physical, like getting hit by electricity. My muscles locked. My finger twitched against the trigger, almost firing by accident. My breathing went shallow, tight, like someone was squeezing my throat. 30 seconds. How far can I run in 30 seconds? With my gear, sprinting full speed maybe to 100 meters, and F-16 dropping a precision-guided bomb training kicked in. 500-pound payload. Against concrete. Effective kill radius about 50 meters. Shrapnel out to 150. 200 meters isn't enough. 300. Maybe. I couldn't make 300. I turned to Reed. He was looking at me. In his eyes, for the first time ever, Marcus Reed didn't know what to do. The man who always had an answer. The man who never hesitated under fire. The man who said, 40 minutes. Clean job. He was hesitating. His lips moved, but no sound came out. Talking to himself. Calculating. Fighting through it. And then he made his final decision. Maintain radio silence. He said. My brain took half a second to process what he just said. What? Maintain radio silence. Don't contact Ortega. Don't try to abort the strike. Why? Because if we break silence now, we expose ourselves. They'll know exactly where we are. They're already close. If they hear us calling to abort, we die faster. Yeah, I looked at him. He looked at me. 20 seconds. But if we don't break silence, I said, we die under our own bomb. Reed didn't answer. He closed his eyes, just for a second, then opened them. Your call. He said it quietly, not the kind of quiet that dodges responsibility, the kind that means done everything he can, and what's left isn't his anymore. He handed it to me, and in that moment, I hated him. I hated that he put that choice in my hands. I hated that he made me decide at the worst possible time. But what I hated more was that I knew exactly why he did it. Because if he chose silence. He gambled that the enemy hadn't pinpointed us. He gambled the bomb wouldn't land right on top of us. He gambled that we might live, but he wasn't sure. So he gave the choice to me. Because if it went wrong, it wouldn't just be him. 10 seconds. I thought if I stay silent, we might live. Maybe. The bomb might miss. The shrapnel might not reach us. The enemy might not find us. But if I speak, if I say anything, they'll hear it. They'll fire. We'll be pinned behind this low wall, no real cover. No way out and die before the strike even hits. So silence gives us a chance. Speaking guarantees death. Right. 5 seconds. Then I heard it. The sound overhead. The -16. Far but getting closer. That sound cut through the sky like a blade, driving straight into my ears. 3 seconds. I thought of my daughter. I don't have one, but I thought of something missing. Something I've never had. Something I might never have. 2 seconds. I pressed the button. Ortega. Abort the strike. Coordinates are wrong. Repeat, coordinates are wrong. We are inside the strike zone. 1 second. Silence. 10 gunfire. From the roof. The instant I spoke, the shots came. Not a coincidence. Those two on the roof weren't observers. They were waiting for us to break silence. Contact. Contact. Reed's voice exploded over comms. He was faster than me by the time I keyed the mic. He already had his rifle up, aimed at the roof. Through the cracks in the skylight panels, I saw muzzle flash a smell, sharp, like matches striking in the dark. Rounds slammed into the ground in front of us. Concrete fragments kicked up, snapping against my goggles. Cover. Reed shouted, but I had no cover. That low wall barely reached my waist. It could shield my body if I crouched but not my head. And the shooters had elevation. They could see everything behind it. I dropped flat. The ground was cold. Grip pressed into my cheek. I could smell gunpowder and dust mixing in the air. Brooks, Reed shouted, take out the roof. Brooks' voice came through, but most of it got drowned by gunfire. Trying to get an angle there behind the vents, another burst. Closer this time. I could hear rounds snapping over my head that sharp, slicing wine like nails dragged across glass. Then the smack of impacts, concrete shattering, fragments hitting my helmet. Ortega. Reed shouted again, is the strike aborted? Ortega's voice came back fast, frantic in a way I'd never heard before. Abort confirmed. -16 is pulling up. But Reed, those coordinates, forget the coordinates. We need support. Closest QRF is 15 minutes out. We don't have 15 minutes. Reed turned to me. There was blood on his face, not his and anyone else's. From earlier, in the pale light, it looked almost black. Walker, can you make it to that stack of barrels on the east side? I looked. About 10 meters away, rusted drums stacked chest high. Real cover. 10 meters. In the open? That's about 3 seconds. The shooters shifted positions. I could hear them moving across the metal roof, heavy thuds. I can make it, I said. Good. I'll cover. When I fire, I move. Reed rolled out from behind the wall, rifle up, firing at the roof. 3 shots. Each one thundered in the open space, echoes stacking into a chaotic roar. I ran. First second he pushed off hard, legs driving, rifle swinging against my chest, slamming into my ribs. Second Reed kept firing. 3 more. Then 3 again. The roof shooters ducked in a return fire. 30 hit the barrels. They rattled as I slammed in behind them, crouching, breathing hard. Seth, I shouted. Reed stopped firing. 2 seconds of silence. Then the roof opened up again. This time full auto. Rounds poured down like rain, hammering the wall, the ground, the barrels. 1 round punched straight through the metal drum. I heard his crack of penetration, then the bullet tearing past my ear, then the sound of liquid leaking out. Water, not water, some kind of chemical, clear, sharp smell. My eyes started burning. Reed, you good? No answer. Reed, I'm good, he said finally, voice muffled. He was still behind the wall, rounds chewing up the concrete above him. But this position won't hold. That wall's coming apart. I looked. The wall was riddled with holes, concrete crumbling away, exposing brick underneath. The bricks were cracking too. Maybe a minute, 2 at most. Brooks, I shouted, can you take them or not? His voice came back, calm, almost cold. I've got one, then take the shot. Waiting for angle. He's only exposing half. Then I heard another shot. Not Brooks. Distant, far off but in the open industrial zone. It carried clearly. Then Brooks' voice changed. Not calm anymore. Pain. I'm hit. My mind blinked for a full second. Brooks was hit. Our sniper. Our ice. Our only high ground advantage. Brooks. Status. His voice was tight, like he was forcing it through clenched teeth. Left shoulder. Through and through. I can't move. But me rifle's gone. Gone. Shot got the stock. Knocked it out of my hands. It fell off the tower. No sniper rifle. No overwatch. Brooks was out. The roof shooters kept firing. Reed's wall kept crumbling. The chemical liquid kept leaking. Fumes building. My eyes burned. Vision starting to blur. Ortega. I shouted. Where's the support? URF still 12 minutes out. We don't have 12 minutes. I know, but his voice cut off. Not signal loss. Hesitation. What? I snapped. What is it? His voice dropped. Like it didn't want to say it. I checked those coordinates. The wrong ones. Not the time they were changed. That hit like a bullet straight through my chest. What? The coordinates you gave me were correct. They were correct when I uploaded them, but before I confirmed them someone changed them. From inside. Inside. Someone wanted us erased. The words detonated in my head, but there was no time to think, because the shooters on the roof changed tactics. They stopped spraying on full auto. They started taking careful shots. One round. It hit the barrel beside me. Metal shards flew off and sliced across my forearm. I felt the heat not from the bullet itself, but from the metal flash heated by the impact. Another round. This one hit the barrel over my head. The whole thing lurched and started to tip. I reached up to catch it, but I was too late. The barrel went over. Everything inside it spilled out across the floor. My boot landed in it, slipped, and I went down hard. My knee slammed into the concrete, and pain shot up through my kneecap like someone had hit it with a hammer. I was flat on the ground. The liquid soaked through my vest, my pants. The smell was so strong it made me want to throw up. Some kind of solvent. Flammable. The shooters on the roof saw it, and they stopped firing. Silence. That silence was worse than the gunfire. What are they doing? Reed called from behind the low wall. His voice sounded weak. I don't know. Then I heard it. A voice from the roof. Not gunfire. A man shouting. I don't speak Arabic, but I recognize one word. Fire. They were calling for fire. They were going to ignite it. I looked down at the liquid on the floor, at my soaked clothes, at everything around me. One bullet into the ground. One spark and this whole area would turn into an inferno into seconds. I'd burned to death. Not blown apart. Not shot. Burned alive. My breathing started to speed up. Not controlled breathing. Not tactical. Panic. My body slipping into hyperventilation. Reed, I see it. What do we do? He didn't answer. Then I heard something else. From the west. Engine. Not aircraft. Ground vehicles. Several of them. Ortega. What's that sound? Ortega's voice was shaking. Quick reaction force in it ours. It's theirs. At least for vehicles. Closing on your position. Enemies on every side. Shooters overhead. Reinforcements in front of us. A dead end behind us. Flammable liquid under our feet. Air support aborted. We were trapped. I thought about the bad coordinates. Somebody wanted us gone. And now they were about to get what they wanted. Reed leaned out from behind the wall and looked at me. There was no fear on his face. No anger. No despair. Just calm. The kind of calm that comes after you've accepted the worst outcome. Walker. He said, how much ammo you got left? I checked my mags. 2. About 50 rounds. I've got 1. 30. Enough. For what? To fight our way out. He gave a short laugh. Not happy. More like the kind of laugh that comes when you already know the question is stupid, but you ask it anyway. No, not enough for that, but enough to make them pay for it. Then he stood up. Not slowly, not cautiously. He just stood straight and full as if he'd stopped caring and was walking into a storm. Reed, listen to me. His voice was soft, but every word landed clean. I'm going west. I'll fire. Pull their attention. You go east. Out through the loading corridor. Find Brooks. Get him out. What are you talking about? That's an order. That's not an order. That's suicide. That's my choice. He looked at me. Those eyes. I had never seen that look in Marcus Reed's eyes before. It wasn't courage. It wasn't sacrifice. It was relief. Like he'd been waiting for this day. Waiting for the day he could stop running. But he was already moving. He broke from behind the wall and ran west. Rifle in hand. Firing as he moved. The roof shooter swung onto him immediately. Rounds chased him. He was fast, faster than I'd ever seen anyone move. And he was shouting, not yelling words, just a raw, animal sound torn out of his chest. Then he went down, not from a hit. He slipped, the liquid on the ground. He crashed and skidded several feet, tried to get back up, but something was wrong with his knee. He ended up on one knee, rifle braced, firing back at the roof. The shooters returned fire. I saw rounds striking around him, kicking up concrete chips. There was blood on his face. His left arm hung useless at his side, not from a gunshot, but from the fall. He kept firing, one round, then another. His mag was almost empty. Run, he shouted. I didn't run. I stood up. I broke from behind the barrels. Not east, west, toward him. Walker, you son of a... I reached him, grabbed the shoulder strap of his vest, and started dragging. He was heavy, with gear, at least 160 pounds. I couldn't really move him, but I dragged anyway. Pulled him east, toward the loading corridor. Rounds burst around us. One hit the concrete by my heel, fragments slicing across my boot. Another slammed into a barrel beside us with a high metallic shriek. I was shouting to now, not words, the same kind of raw scream he made. Something involuntary, ripped straight out of my chest. I dragged him into the loading corridor. It was narrow. The walls blocked the roof shooter's line of sight. For the moment, we were safe. Only for the moment. I could hear the vehicles to the west now. Engines, doors slamming open, men shouting. They were here. Reed lay on the ground, gasping for air. His left arm was bent at a wrong angle. His face was streaked with blood and dust. He looked at me. I told you to run east. I'm not you, I said. He laughed. A real laugh this time. Brave, light, like a feather touching water. Then he closed his eyes. That was a stupid decision. So was yours. Footsteps echoed outside. A lot of them, heavy, closing on the loading corridor. I checked my rifle. Have a mag left. 15 rounds. Reed's rifle was outside the corridor. I had 15 rounds. The footsteps were getting closer. I dropped into a crouch. Rifle aimed at the entrance. 15 rounds. How many could I take? 3, 4. And then there was no then. But at least I didn't run. The footsteps reached the entrance. Shadows. 1, 2, 3. My finger tightened on the trigger. 10. Another sound. From above. Not the -16. Helicopters. Rotors. Loud. Close. The figures at the entrance frowsy. Listening. Then Ortega's voice exploded in my ear. Almost manic with excitement. Air support is on station. Not the -16. Apaches. I called in Apaches. They're moving into attack position. The figures at the entrance started backing up. They heard it too. They knew what it meant. Then the Apaches opened fire. 30mm chain guns. The sound tore the sky apart. Outside the corridor, everything flashed orange and white. Rounds hammered the ground. Empty vehicles. The outer walls, dust and debris, erupted upward like reverse rain. Shouting, engines roaring to life, tires screeching. They were pulling back. All of them. Reed lay on the ground. Eyes closed. His lips moved. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I saw it. He was smiling. The helicopters circled for about 7 minutes. The Apache pilots reported all ground targets had withdrawn. 4 vehicles, roughly 12 to 15 personnel, retreating west, beyond engagement range. A quick reaction force arrived 11 minutes later. Not ours, theirs, but it didn't matter anymore. They were gone. The medevac bird landed 20 minutes later. When they lifted Reed onto the stretcher, he opened his eyes and looked at me. His lips moved. I leaned in. One word. Idiot. Then he smiled. I smiled too. They loaded Reed onto the helicopter. Brooks was already inside, his left shoulder wrapped. Blood seeping through the bandage. Pale, but conscious. He gave me a nod. I didn't get on. I stood at the entrance to the loading corridor, watching the helicopter lift off. The rotor wash blasted sand into my face like needles. Then it settled. Quiet again. I stood alone in that abandoned industrial zone. 3:41 a.m. Mission failed. Target not found. 3 wounded. No fatalities. But close. Too close. I looked down at the tactical tablet. The bat coordinates were still logged. Ortega checked louder data had been altered during transition. Not a signal error. Not a system glitch. Someone had manually changed it at a node in the chain. From inside, someone wanted us gone. I powered the tablet down. Not the time to think about it. Right now, I just needed to go home. Aftermath. By that time, the helicopter touched down at the forward operating base. The sun was just coming up. It rose over the eastern ridge, washing the base in orange and gold. Outside the medical tent, A small line of wounded waited leftovers from tonight's operation. Not many. Our platoon had only run one mission tonight. Ours. When I walked into the tent, Reed was already on a cot. His left arm was immobilized, bandages on his face, but his eyes were open. He saw me, didn't say anything. I pulled up a chair and sat beside him. We stayed quiet for a long time. Then he said, "That coordinate, yeah, you believe it was intentional. Or take a check the logs. Not a malfunction." Reed closed his eyes. "That means," he said, "it's not just this mission." I knew what he meant. If someone could alter coordinates from inside, they could do more. Tamper with intel, leak positions, set up ambushes. This time it was us. Next time, what are you going to do? I asked. Reed didn't answer. He opened his eyes and stared at the ceiling. There was a small tear in the fabric, sunlight cutting through it in a narrow beam. Just drifted in the light. "Recover first," he said. Then he turned his head and looked at me. "What about you?" I thought about it. I want to know who. And then, I stopped. Then what? Track them down. Kill them? Expose them? I didn't know. All I knew was tonight, behind that low wall, lying on cold concrete, hearing bullets tear overhead, smelling that sharp chemical solvent, knowing someone was about to turn me into pieces. In 30 seconds, all I wanted was to survive. Now I had, but what comes after surviving? I didn't answer Reed. I stood up and walked out of the medical tent. The sunlight was blinding. I squinted. People were running drills, eating breakfast, changing shifts. Everything looked normal, like nothing had happened. But I couldn't forget that voice. Coordinates confirmed. Preparing strike. 30 seconds. I pressed the button. It was the right call. The dumbest one I ever made. Because it saved us. But it also showed us something we were never supposed to see. Someone wanted us erased. And we were still alive. That alone made us a problem.